Hello folks, welcome to another live inking. This is yesterday's prompt, which is treasure. So it is number 21. I forget what day it is now. All rolls into one. Anyway, I'm just going to do a few checks just before we start. This camera. Oh, one camera is not working. Just bear with me a minute. Let's get this one working. Dum, dum, dum. Right, still nothing. Still nothing, hang on. Sometimes we have OBS issues sometimes. You can see what I'm drawing anyway. It might be because I'm streaming already. Oh no, there we go. Great. Okay, there we go. We're all good. Sorry about that. Just a few tech issues. So this camera, I'm just going to check the sound now. All good. All good. I just got to make sure. That's fine. That's fine. Good. Hello and welcome. Right, day 21, which was yesterday. This is treasure. And treasure, of course, I'm looking at trophy hunting, illegal hunting of these beautiful animals. Both for, a photograph, which is treasured, and also body parts can also be used in Asian medicines and all sorts. These guys go for a lot of money. They have been described as a kind of forgotten animal that has been in decline. So we've had a lot of attention on rhinos, on pandas, on tigers, but giraffes have been out of the limelight a little bit, even though the numbers have plummeted. So very important one to draw, I think. Love giraffes. Yay! Hey, just as well. Just as well you love giraffes since we're drawing one. Okay. Materials, Moulin de Roy, hot press watercolor paper, 7.5 inches by 5.5 inches. These I have decided now, as we've gone through the Inktober, that these are going to be done for Sketch for Wildlife, which is £100 for 100%. Now a lot of artists are just doing half an hour sketches and selling them for £100. So I think this is a really good good thing that you're getting for 100 quid. But 100% of the donation, of course, goes to a conservation charity. In this case, the one that set up Sketch for Wildlife, which is the David Shepherd Wildlife Foundation. So these will be on sale. And they'll be numbered as well, and I'm going to continue to do them as well throughout the year. I'm just going to pick odd ones just to draw at this size and hopefully raise some money for a really, really important cause. Alright, material, sorry I got distracted. Materials, Dr. P.H. Martin, Bombay, India inks, 3 brushes and 1 glass dip pen that needs a clean. Appalling. Left it dirty from last night. Like, Um, we've got a Royal number 10 brush, round brush. And we've got two Billy Shoal brushes. They're watercolour brushes, but they lend themselves very well to inks. They're beautiful brushes, by the way, but not vegan friendly, unfortunately. A number 2 and a number 4. I've got my palette ready. I've got some inks ready. It's from last night. And I've also got these little jam jars, and they are full of a watered down version of the inks. 3 pots of water. Initially, squid your brushes in the bottom of one pot. Get rid of all those air bubbles if you are working from a dry brush initially. That stops it from popping on your page and putting ink everywhere. An initial wash out of the brush, then it dips into here. This is my spare one if these two become too dirty, so I don't have to get up. Marika, hello. You always distract me. Okay, so I've been thinking about trying a slightly new technique. I think it might turn out, it might not. And that is to go in with pure colour initially, which I have been doing, but then wash it out as I'm going along to produce some of the other tones, the other values, which I haven't been doing. It might turn out, it might not. Obviously I've done this before in watercolour, but I'm always looking for quicker ways to do the same thing. Hello Janie, welcome. How are you today? That's what I live for, to make you do art better with distractions. Thank you. Yes, it's a good challenge. Alright, so always I'm going to start on the black, the monotone side first, and that is because I'm right-handed, so no other reason, and I've just done it throughout, so I'm going to do that first. So first of all, I need to clean off my dip pen because it is disgracefully dirty. And I've just got a little spray bottle with some alcohol in it. Just give that a good old scrub. I've definitely chipped the very, very tip of my glass pen already. It's okay, it's just a bit scratchy in areas. We've still got a hint of colour on there. Very important, folks. Clean your equipment as you go. Don't be like me. I have to scrub at it to get it clean. Oh, Janie's got her new glass pen in. Fantastic. Have you tried it out yet? There we go, that's a bit better. Look at the state on that as well. I use tissues until they're virtually dead. I don't like polluting the earth with tissues when I don't have to. These go for, as you can see, quite a while until they get consigned to the bin. Alright, so good. They do obviously fluff up a bit. So with that clean, I'm not going to use that actually, but I did want to clean it. I'm going to use some of this mix here. It's quite a dark mix. But as I said, I'm going to go in with some pure pigment. In fact, let's put you somewhere safe. Well, I don't think there's anywhere safe for a glass pen unless it is wrapped up in some bubble wrap somewhere. Alright, I'm going to start with the ear. So we're doing something slightly different today. I like using different techniques if I can. So I'm going to come in with some pure pigment. I have damp dampened my brush down. God, I've got the sun shining off somebody's window here right in my eyes. Now I haven't marked this out, so it's just obviously a quick sketch. But I'm going to need a handy brush. I'm going to use this one. This is the number 10. Because I need to soften some of these edges very, very quickly, otherwise they're going to dry and then going to have a hard edge. I don't mind these having a hard edge because this is a bit of fur indication. And again, just to soften that edge a bit. Now sometimes I work in watercolour in this way. Dear. I'm not being very precise with my brush at the moment. Okay, and I'm going to come in with this mix now and do the rest of the ear for a minute. So this isn't as dark. Nowhere near as dark, especially when I now come in with a damp brush and wash this out. Just going to fill in this centre bit here with some pure pigment. That should mix itself with some of that I've just put down. I haven't quite got the shading in that ear right, but here we go. So make some markings on the outside of the ear. I'm just going to use some of this dark one. So I haven't cleaned off my brush. It had pure pigment in, which has now gone in with the dark mix. So how this is different is I'm just doing one bit at a time. Rather than do a wash over the whole lot. and we'll give that a bit of a mix. So I'm going to come in with my smaller brush. I want a bit more control over where I put that pure pigment. Lots of concentration here. Okay, let's have just a little bit of that watered down in here. So I said this is just a different way of doing it, so we're just completing each part as we go, rather than putting, you know, first layer down, second layer down. This is always an option. when you do it this way, I find that you always get a more detailed drawing, or inking in this case. I do, Janie, yes. You're just going to make sure that you clean off your brush well. I'm just mixing a medium light mix here just to put in some of the depth areas. Otherwise we'll be layering forever. Not worried also about getting this exactly right. For those of you that might go, that doesn't look completely right. I can't remember what's on that now. Pure pigment, that's right. So just swapping to the pure pigment brush, if it hasn't dried off already. I've got to be mindful of my line. Luckily that's this side of the line, so I'm alright. Some more ink on my brush. No, it's water soluble, but once it's dry you need alcohol to get rid of the excess that has dried. So you only need alcohol on dried ink, but otherwise it's water soluble. I believe alcohol inks aren't as stable in terms of light fasteners. So I'm just going to come in with that darker mix as we gradiate out. Come in with that medium light mix. Hello, stranger. Yes, Boom Nigel.
Ships in the night.
Yep, it is today. Me and my husband are on very different schedules with our clients today, so we just haven't seen each other since we got up this morning. Just a bit weird. So just coming in with this bit now, you just keep coming back to it. To once it's dry, to put a bit more down. I'm wanting some of this lighter mix. Yeah. For this shadow. Just adding those layers, looking at where is darkest, depending on where I'm drawing. Look at me pushing this up again. Have to keep checking. So this here is the edge of the ear. I need to do a little highlight. So one way to do highlights when there's a white background is to do a very, very slight outline. And you'll notice I've left this white, but that will have a very weak mix once this is dry. So we now have a shadow coming down here as well. Just that one there. Right, I want a really weak mix now. Now that this is dry, should dry nice and light. So you want to just make sure how light that will dry. Just get a bit of tissue and dab it, and you should be able to see roughly how light that's going to be. So you can see this is just a different technique. I'm going to put these these markings in after, I think. But at the moment, just concentrate. These are probably a bit too dark, but it can be very deceiving until you've done some of the lighter bits. But I want to come in with that pure pigment a moment. I've got to be careful with this because as I'm holding this paintbrush in air, it just starts to dry off and that will ruin the brushes. Definitely don't want to do that. So I am going to give that a bit of a clean just in case, because it's looking a bit gloopy and these are my best brushes. When you're working with inks, that will ruin your brushes as they dry. You really don't want that. I can't remember how much these were, but I think they were about 20 quid each, something like that. And I won't buy them again because they're not vegan friendly. So once these brushes go, they go. That's it. Right. Let's clean that off. Right. Get such fine detail with these brushes, they're lovely. Including the bigger brush as well. So I'm going to come in with this first. Just look for the shapes initially. Right, so lighter mix. Map some of these. Markings. Just need some of this slightly darker mix, we don't need a pure mix. Just a damp brush. And yeah, a little bit more of that mix. Back to the nose. This is how, by the way, you do, areas. You just leave that area to dry, come back to this area. Whereas if you do the whole wash, you need to swap to the other side. What brushes do I recommend? Vegan ones, synthetic. too much on my brush. Still too much on my brush. So just sucking out some of that colour. Ooh, got Poppet. Hello, Poppet. Yeah. Ooh, demands. Yes. Hello, how can I help you? Yes. Hello, Bobby. Come here. Hello. 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 Yes. Yeah, come here. Oh, noisy. She is very noisy. Just want to put a bit of extra water here. I think that's a bit too dark, so this is really my lightest mix. I'm going to just put that all over. This area, and then this area can just get another wash. So this should mean this is slightly darker than that. Alright, let's just bring in some of that slightly darker. Darken this up. In with the dark stuff in the pot. Just want to get some of that dark off, so I've just dipped it in there rather than waste paint. Just play with some of that I've just put down. She's determined, if nothing else. It's a she, but yes, she does demand attention. Hello. She always sounds annoyed, but she's not. It's a normal. I like it. Keep going, meow. Ah, is that better? Is that better? Get some fussies? Yeah. Nice. I know. You saying hello to everybody? Saying hi to everybody? Yeah? There we go. So I don't know whether you can see this way of doing inks. I'm ever so sorry, I keep going off. This way of doing inks means that you get slightly more detail. So doing it as you go. And the reason for that often, I mean, when I do these kind of details, when I'm concentrating on one area like this, what I'm going to do on my iPad is actually blow the image up. And then I can get into, a few more details than I might if I'm just looking at the whole thing. And that's a good tip for drawing or painting. If you want to get an overview, so you want to see where the lights and shadows are and that kind of thing on a general level, it is best to have your image blown, well, actually a small image. And then when you're ready to do detail, you blow that image up. So this is pretty much done at that point, so I'm now going to move down. I do need to just do a bit of a wash on the eye, so I'm going to take that really light colour, because none of this is white. And I might put a couple of really bright highlights in right at the end with some of the white ink. I have a poppet, but her name is Millie. Right. You have a talker then, eh? She's come in, she whinges, and then she goes out again. So my image, by the way, is the same as yours, but I have lightened my image slightly. I'm less concerned about doing a really bright white side and a really dark side, because I'm already splitting it into monotone and colour. Sometimes it's not worth doing your half a face in light and half a face in shadow. It kind of gets confused in amongst that two halves. So I'm not worried about getting this too light. I'm just doing, the relevant shading, and I'll do the relevant shading this side. So I'm moving away from this is the light side and that's the dark side. So all I've done on my image, I've just lightened it slightly, so I can see some of the details on this side of the face a little bit more clearly. So I'm going to start with this chin section here. Now we've got a combination here of a bit of shadow, and we've also got some markings. So I'm doing the shadow, obviously a certain colour, but actually the markings will be very slightly darker unless we come under here. It is the problem in monotone. You can't tell the difference sometimes between a shadow and a marking if you're doing animals. So I'm just using the dark mixture out of the pot. I'm just going to lay that down in this shadow area here. I want to come in with a bit of a damp brush and just want to if I can just put in some hints of fur strokes there, like that, and the same this end. And this goes up here. So I'm just going to continue with this on my brush. Just go ahead and do this bit. And just swap. Come in with this darker light mix. You've got lots going on here, lots of, because the animal's snout is long, there's lots of structures here to indicate that this is a long, sorry, I'm just, there's a child almost outside of my window. I was looking straight in. That's interesting. I do get distracted, sorry about that. Yeah, there's lots of structures indicating that it's going back. And as it goes back, it will be slightly darker. So these are the structures that you can see me doing here. And then here and here we've got splodges, something completely different. I don't know what she's looking at. I'm wondering whether Bear's sat out there and she's staring at Bear. Oh, I want the light one. It's very distracting. Thank you. He is very cute. We're already going for 50 minutes. I'm not sure this is a quicker process. I'm always trying to get a quicker process. These things have a way of taking their own sweet time. So again, I'm just layering some of these up with a slightly darker one. Okay, also need to just come down here. We've got that there, and I've got this the wrong shape. There. Just want to remove some of that, make it a bit lighter. Fine. And then we've got a darker bit to put on there, but I'm going to wait till it dries. So we're going to move to this area here. I'm going to come in with a really, really light mix and just start mapping out some of those structures. Obviously this is where we've got our crossover. Okay, I'm going to just move down here, so we need to just leave that dry a little bit. Big smiley giraffe. $4? No. No, I'll be here forever if I'm doing 4-hour Inktobers. I could do 2 in that time, obviously. So coming in with a slightly darker mix, that's the darker of the light mixes up here. I know it all gets a bit confusing, sorry about that. Now looking at where this is here on this line, so we probably need to start getting a bit darker just here. This goes out in a rather spotty form. And then under here we have a little bit of a darker patch coming down. It's all about the values. Just give that brush a bit of a wipe off. Coming back down here, I need some of this darker now, just on this section here, so a bit of a fuzzy edge here. To put the fuzzy edge in. It's about halfway along the nostril, so let's do that. And we splay out. We've got the beautiful whiskers, but we're not going to put those in until the last minute. This is basically not the darkest of mix, so that will dry slightly lighter. And just come back to here and darken some of this. And this. Great, well while that's drying down here, I'll come back in with this darker of the lighter mixes. Look at anything that needs to be darkened again. I am on a time scale, by the way. I do have a client coming at a particular time, so I need to just make sure. I'm not going to go over my time limit. Yeah. So this won't be in one continuous stream. Fact. My husband's just looked through the door. I'm going to go and have a coffee before my client comes, and then I can come on after that. So I should be done by about 5:15 time. So I would imagine I can set up and come online for about 5:30 to finish this one off, and maybe start today's. Today's, by the way, number 22 is Ghost. So, there we go. So, thank you all for joining me. I shall come back on. We shall finish this off and start on the colour. And have a good couple of hours or so before I see you again. Thanks a lot for coming in and chatting. Anyway, it's always nice. All right, time got away with me a little bit there, so we've done nearly an hour on this, and hopefully you can start to see that this is much more along the lines of realism, so a little bit more detail in there. I just, throughout this Inktober, I thought I would show you a little bit of some different techniques on how to get the same sort of thing. All right, I shall see you around about 5:30, hopefully, but I will keep in touch anyway and put up announcements. All right, I shall see you all soon. Bye for now.